Hi, I'm Chris Schomburg, and I'm an instructor here at Aims, and this is our community lab. Now, our community lab actually features maker ideas or makerspace ideas, and so this is a maker lab. What we do in a maker lab is we go ahead and we use all kinds of tools, we use all kinds of devices, and we really just tinker with our minds as well. We are hands-on and heads-on, so we try to think and tinker within this space. So let's go ahead and go into the space. You always design and create and prototype and mock up before you actually build. And to do that, it's always important to go ahead and brainstorm, ideate, and create all those kinds of ideas with your group first. So this is actually, the space being used right now is being used for a class in Arduinos and learning about electronics. So this is a very safe space. We have right here what's called a fume hood, and we can do all kinds of chemical types of processes. So we could do chemistry, etching. So if you wanted to make a PVC board for electronic components or things like that, this is a perfect space to do that. And we wouldn't be smelling those fumes because we could actually turn this on, has a filter on it, it's gonna be safe, it's gonna filter all that out. So this is a great space for chemistry, for all kinds of things that we're gonna do that would need a fume hood. So this right here is a coming soon to our community lab at Aims, and it's etching. So this is actually an etcher, a laser etcher, and this is Tinkerbell being laser etchered. You could do this in all different types of materials, from rock, stone, to balsa wood, to all kinds of different types of materials. In fact, here they've actually etched just to start out, just like we do with sketches, they started out with a lesser material. This is actually just a paper material that they've etched into. And so you could go to a balsa wood, or you could go up to even stone. All right, so what we have here is we actually have our safety equipment. We have all kinds of visors right here. We have first aid kits and things like that in here too. But we want to highlight that we have all kinds of tools. We have hex keys. We have all kinds of hammers. So we have hammers that are honestly used for rubber hammers that I used to use for spoon rings when I was a kid. We also have ball peen hammers, plastic hammers that might be used so you wouldn't break something. And then we also have just regular hammers and sledgehammers. If you want to really get into something, you can do that too. Some parts of what we do in here is actually solder. And soldering is an electrical portion of what you might do in a makerspace lab like this community lab at Aims. We have all kinds of various makerspace projects that we might do. This is 6-segment light that we might use. We have 3 different kinds of Arduino kits. We have the lily pads, which are very good for clothing and that kind of 3D making. We also have the Arduino Uno, which is probably the most used and most general used, to even a shield, which is a little bit more high-end Arduino kit that we have. We've also customized these Arduino kits in the community lab. And so you can see that we've actually 3D printed custom kits for these Arduino sets that we have here. So once again, it's very important in this makerspace or this community lab to go ahead and make models, mock-ups, and prototypes. And what we have here is we have all kinds of paints and aerosols that we could use with a fume hood to basically make those models. You know, it could be a model airplane that you have, right? Or it could be a model dollhouse that you have. Whatever you're doing, you're gonna start with a model, you're gonna make a mock-up, and when you do that, you can then go ahead and paint and add aerosols to that. And then from that, you can then make your full prototype. And that's the full tested prototype that you're gonna use for your finished design. This is actually a 3D printer. What's really interesting about 3D printers is they actually are an additive process. So instead of like a subtractive process that you might be familiar with a clay model, if you made a bowl out of a clay model, you would take away parts of that clay model. And here, we're actually adding layer by layer, kind of like a glue gun. You just add a layer by layer, and you have a final product. So we have several 3D printers. This is the Upbox. It's a very good 3D printer. This is probably one of our best 3D printers in just this lab. We have many 3D printers. If you're willing to take courses with us at Aims in 3D printing, we have a lot of 3D printers here. But this is the Zeus 3D printer, and it is a very good small scale 3D printer. This right here is another thing that is coming soon to our community lab at Aims. So what we have here is a plotter, and this is actually a device that can print very large prints. We use that for architectural buildings. We use it for anything that is a blueprint that we might use. And right here we have our 3D printer that's a little bit different than the others because it can actually thread two different types of threads. It has two heads here, and so those two heads can actually thread two different types of PLA material. And so we can see different colors in that case. We can see different types of colors that we see here. We're actually seeing two different types of 3D printed heads. But this one right here, this Prussia, is a new type of 3D printer. It actually heats the bed, so this bed actually heats up, and we can use different types of materials with that to go ahead and do that additive process of 3D printing with an additive process. That is actually what makes this blade, and we can go ahead and print multiple blades together and then piece them together later on. Thanks so much for watching, and I hope you enjoyed our tour of the community space. Stay tuned for more videos.